Greetings and abundant blessings all. Today, due to an ongoing crisis happening at our residence or home, we decided to go for a stroll for much needed food and supplies at our favourite local supermarket. On our way, we happened to spot two who appeared to be ministering, teaching and preaching on the doorstep / lawn of one of our adoptee daughters, not adopted in the legal sense, home. We were wanting to pose them a question we had been pondering earlier on in the day, but decided we'd do it on our way back home with our shopping. We'd return to them and then ask them for an answer. When we finally returned to the house, they were still there, so we asked them the question of, if one spends time praying and fasting, just consuming water only for say 24 to 48 hours, this takes practice to do this. You can't do it like on your first time out because you've never fasted before, and it can be quite harsh, and most people quit after a couple of hours. But we endure it to last either 24 to 42 or 72 hours on water only. So we asked them, if one prays to God and does water fasting, because the Christ in the scriptures actually said the only way you can remove these demons, the demons that he was talking about in these people around him, around the disciples, was to spend time in prayer and fasting. So again, we asked them, when you're doing that and you're asking God to remove, say, a filthy spirit or a demon, etc., from somebody else, a family member, etc., because they were silly sods and played around with a Ouija board, did seances and all that sort of stuff, and they invited some evil entity into their home or upon themselves to deliver them from that. How come he doesn't answer your prayer? Or he doesn't answer your prayer request? You might spend days and days and days constantly praying, because Jesus Christ said, pray ceasingly, or Paul said, pray ceasingly. Ask and ye shall find, believe and it shall be given to you, but you have to believe, etc., according to the scriptures. So why doesn't God answer your prayers or your prayer requests? Because, as we stated, those are in the scriptures from Jesus' very mouth and the disciples and apostles' very mouths. This main guy teaching and preaching was a Fijian. We asked him his name. We found out, okay, because we had a friend when we were going to school, high school, his name was the same, and we worked out, okay, it must be Fijian. He said, yeah, he was. But being from a distant on this adoptee daughter's doorstep, probably about 20, 30 yards away, he couldn't hear properly or understand what we were asking him. So he got up, him and his friend, another big guy, a Samoan guy or island guy, sat on the doorstep. He stayed there. So he came over to us and she said, what was the question? He didn't hear it, so he couldn't understand it. And we repeated the question again. If you spend time praying, water fasting, water only, for 24 to 48 hours, okay, a couple of days, 3 days or more, then why doesn't God answer your prayer request? And he hummed and hawed, and he said, well, you go to the doctor if you've got an illness. Okay, you go to the physician, means that you go to the doctor to get cured. That's what Christ was saying in the scriptures. That's what he was saying. But he, as far as we remember, he said he didn't come to heal those who weren't sick. He came to heal those that were sick, sinners, etc., etc. That's what he's referring to. That's what we believe, right? Okay. We'd have to study it more to verify that's exactly what he was talking about in the original ancient, very old Galilean-Aramaic manuscripts translated into the nearest English equivalent by a native-born Aramaic-speaking translator from Mesopotamia, Syria, Victor N. Alexander. So yeah, this guy hummed and hawed, like he didn't really know, but he's trying to bluff with an answer, right? And then he asked us about sin. Who has sinned? All of a sudden, right? So he said, well, everybody sinned according to the scriptures. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And he goes, yes, but, and he made this weird statement. He didn't say it was in the scriptures or anything like that, but we believe that that's what he's hinting at. He said that we human beings were first created as angels, and we sinned in heaven, and then we got booted out of heaven. And I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon doctrination, or doctrine or dogma or something like that. And he said, no, they're not. He wasn't Jehovah's Witness, and he wasn't Mormon. Obviously he wasn't, because he didn't have the elder badge, the white shirt and tie, right? And also JWs, you can usually tell who's a JW, right? Okay, so he said he was non-denominational. So where is he getting these false scriptures from? These false interpretations? He must be reading a modern Americanized English translation, be it NIV. They tend to favour the King James. Most street preachers, teachers, ministers, evangelists, they seem to favour that one, or the New King James Bible. But most we've met have always fronted up saying they have the NIV, New International Version. Right. Again, we're like, what the hell? Where's he getting this rubbish from? Okay. So we responded immediately that he was in error, as the verse specifically refers in regards to men being created as angels first and then getting kicked out because they sinned. That's error. That one that he was specifically referring to actually says in scriptures that angels were created by God to do his biddings, to be his servants, messengers, etc. Not angels who became human and then sinned and then got booted out of heaven to the earth. That's a load of baloney. And again, that's why we thought from then on he was a JW, Jehovah's Witness, and he had this perspective or belief / doctrine. Again, he stated no, he wasn't a JW but non-denominational. So we proceeded to show him examples verbally, because we didn't have the Aramaic, Galilean-Aramaic New Testament scriptures on us. We were trying to show him his errors, probably created through the Bible version, more than likely that he was reading a Modern Americanized English, modern Bible translation he possessed. We gave him sources as well as other examples from the native-born Aramaic translators translation project of the Galilean-Aramaic translated into the nearest English equivalent, and the Tav Asheri or Asheret. It's the Old Testament manuscripts in the original ancient, very old sacred scribal language of God, the Shan Articles of Prayer, of which God spoke to both Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and the men at the Tower of Babel supposedly spoke that one language. And also the Tav Ivri, or original ancient, very old Hebrew, or commonly known as Lashon Kodesh. Those are long dead languages, old tongues, sacred tongues. Nobody writes that language anymore. Nobody speaks that language anymore because it's long dead. It's gone the way of the dodo, as has Old German, the Old Germanic, the Old Latin, the Old Norse, Old English, etc. So the only way you could translate an original ancient very old manuscript was by using the modern derivative or a modern version of root words, because they're very, very similar. And this is what Victor Alexander, the Aramaic translator from Mesopotamia, Syria, had to do. He was told he was translating when he's translating from the Syriac Peshitta, that the one he was translating from was actually wrong, because the Western Christianity had gone into Urmia to try and convert these Surai or Syrians to the Western Christianity, and they tried to translate the King James Version into the Syriac, but apparently it had no grammar or something like that, so they had to create one, and then they botched it, they messed it up. And he had a copy of this Bible formatted Syriac Peshitta or something like that. Pretty sure it was a Western Syriac Peshitta, as a reward given to him for some effort he did when he was a child. So this high priest that he met, befriended, who told him, no, you translated from the wrong one. We never used that, the Western Peshitta probably is referring to, we're not sure. It doesn't really go deep and say exactly that was that. It just says he was translating from the Syriac Peshitta. And he says, well, it's wrong, here you go, here's a copy of the Bible in Bible format, the original ancient, very old Galilean-Aramaic, the Tab Asheret, Lishana Artica Saprea, Old Testament, etc., in that original language. Okay, so in Alexander had depression for about a year or something like that. This is all according to his translation project notes. Okay, we're not making it up. It's directly from that. So if you ever come across him, ask him. You can probably contact him via email and direct him to this video, and he'll say, yeah, that's pretty right, or that's right. Okay. Okay, so this guy simply smiled, sighed, saying, in regard to his claim, this is what we sort of felt that he was doing, is like trying to verify that his statement was true, but humans being created as angels first, then being kicked out because they sinned, fell to earth, all that sort of stuff. This guy simply smiled, sighed, saying, well, yeah, you don't believe it because you got this Aramaic, yeah, right, you know, and like it wasn't valuable, okay, like something else that came later was better than that, right? It's more authentic than that. That's basically what he was hinting at. You just get that funny feeling, you know. And then another guy that was part of the group, this is the big guy that didn't stand up, he made an excuse to get rid of us. We have to go preach on the street now, you know, in a nice subtle way, but we're so used to this. Right? We come across this a lot with the street preaching, house calling, preaching, teaching, ministers of these denominations, non-denominations, right? It's always their excuse, because they have a hidden motive to teach people their false indoctrinations, with their translations and their wacky ideas, and they don't want you exposing them in front of other people. Because when we were talking, okay, we're talking a bit loud, but the adoptee daughter's family members come out and they're like, wow, surprised that, because they recognise me, right? Not so much the people that I was with. And they're like, wow, they had a big smile on their face, and they heard what I was saying. I was explaining about their errors, this man's errors, and gave him examples, like if you have in your Bible that Christ died on the cross, was dying on the cross, and he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? That's incorrect. If he spoke out loud his native language, which is Galilean-Aramaic, and he said, Il, Lama, Na, Sriktani, whatever it is, okay, it doesn't mean, why have you forsaken me? Because God never forsakes you. Look at the Old Testament, right? He does not. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Okay? It's a wrong interpolation, transliteration. It's a second or third generation Arabic or Greek transliteration. It does not mean, why did you abandon me? My God is right, El, El, or Eloi, Eloi in the Hebrew, or Eli, Eli. That's right, but the rest of it, if he's speaking in Galilean-Aramaic, in those modern Americanized English versions, are actually incorrect. Because wherefore implies that he's just been left there to complete his mission. God's never abandoned him, he's still with him. Right? He never turns back on. He's still there. Right? Or else he wouldn't be listening, he wouldn't be hearing what he said, right? Right? When he lifted up his head and he says, my God, yeah, or El, El, etc., etc. If his son's crying out to him, well, he would be listening, wouldn't he? Okay? He'd surely be paying attention. So, yeah, in that situation, in that translation, that translation is incorrect. That God abandoned him, forsook him, right? That's incorrect. So, and we carried on explaining to this guy by giving him other examples. Okay? But this guy in the background kept saying, oh, well, we've got to go to the road and preach. It was an excuse, right? Again, it was an excuse. So he thought, yeah. So, yeah, hopefully he said, yeah, that's what you say. We've heard all this before, and then we'll go away. What if we're subtly saying, what if we just walk down the road a bit and head around the corner, and then come back half an hour later, you guys would still be there, right? It's a way to get rid of us, because the people in the house, you don't want them to be exposed to the truth. The truth is like a two-edged sword. That's written, right? That's in Scripture. Maybe Christ said that. Right? He says the truth is like a two-edged sword. It cuts deep, and it's like it cuts to the very marrow of the bones. Right? People can't handle it because, again, they got their hidden motive, hidden agenda. They've been indoctrinated by their denomination, their church leaders, etc., etc. Okay, so they say to you, well, you're just a baby Christian, you're suppling on milk, we're the chosen, we're elected by God, so we are eating of the meat, or this sort of expression, right? But they really have an appearance of being of God or Christian, etc. on the outside, but inwardly they're actors, they're pretenders, all verbal, having the ability to recall scriptures they've memorized, but can never tell you exactly what it says or means with conviction via the Holy Spirit's power. It's all through their own efforts, right? Anybody can learn it, anybody can think they understand it, but they don't really understand it because it's not in that original, ancient, very old, dead language that nobody uses anymore, right? It hasn't been translated by a person who speaks the new modern language, right? Who's a native born. Okay? Others go to courses, do courses online, they go to universities, seminars, all that sort of stuff. Then they get a pretty little certificate saying, I now speak Aramaic. No, you speak a modern version, okay? It's the Syriac, or modern Galilean-Aramaic, or modern Greek, or modern Israeli Hebrew, which was revived in early 1900s. Okay? So you're speaking a modern form of it, or you're reading from your modern Americanized English modern versions, be it NIV, ESV, RSV, etc. So no, you are not preaching the truth. You think you are, but you aren't. Okay? You have this corrupted version coming from, or mistranslated, transliterated, bad interpolation coming from this one mother church that wants all under her to rule all of them, right? To come under her authority. She wants to be the mother of all those churches. All these Anglicans, Presbyterians, Wesleyans, etc. They are making up that they're breakaways, they're pulled away from the Catholic Church, if that's what they do. These are just examples, right? Could be others like that. We could have the wrong ones, right? but these are still clinging to their mother church through their attire, or what they wear, their robes, their crosses, their rites, their rituals, etc., etc. They're still clinging to that mother church, and they interact with that mother church. They praise the Pope and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they suck up to the Pope and so forth. So they're still attached to that mother church. Even these Protestant churches, right? You might see them now and again, like Kenny, what's his name? Kenny. What's that guy who blew away COVID? Copeland. Kenneth Copeland, sucking up to the Pope. Okay, Your Majesty, Your Highness, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, because the Protestant church, the Reformists were like Martin Luther. They were Roman Catholic scribes or monks or scribes, right? They're still attached to that Roman Catholic Church, even though they became known as reformists, and they said, "Oh, look, there's something wrong here. You need to make some reform. There's something wrong with this church, their doctrines, etc." The people weren't allowed to learn the language, study and learn the language, and speak it and read those texts. They were hiding something. Right? The Roman Catholic Church was hiding something. So he puts them up on this church door, translated it into Latin or whatever, or into English, so that people can read it, right? But he was protesting, but he was a Protestant or a Protestant. Okay, he was still Roman Catholic, but he was a Protestant because he was protesting. He wanted changes made in that mother church, the Roman Catholic Church. So anyone after him, like maybe Tyndale went to London, secretly went to London and translated it from the Latin into Old English or Middle English or something, right? He was still part of that Roman Catholic Church. Some of them got excommunicated and all this sort of stuff. Some burnt at the stake, etc., because they said, hey, church, mother church, you're telling these false doctrines, it's all corrupted, you need to reform, blah, blah, blah. And they might have said, well, cut that out or else you'll be excommunicated. But they said, no, get stuffed. And they suffered for it, they got martyred for it. You have to check out the histories on that. Perhaps Fox's Book of Martyrs, it may indicate that. Show that to you, right? Okay, so we're just basically exposing these people who are running around giving these false doctrines, like the World Church Society, this particular non-denomination church, I can't remember what it's called, but the adopted daughter had actually decided to go to that church and he was telling us all this stuff, and we were like, oh, okay. And she asked, what do we think? And we just told her, well, if that's the one you want to go to it, but you know that we study the original ancient, very old Old Testament manuscripts in the language, the Tav Asherah, the Lishana Articus of Prayer. Our mentor is a man from Mesopotamia, Syria, who speaks many dialects of Aramaic, even Norse, and maybe a couple of other ones. And he's been translating for about 20 years or so. It's his project, and we've got to know him through email, etc. And we trust him. We try to catch him out, but we never have. And he's given us 3 or 4 praises, so we appreciate that for having the faith and helping to have his translation project put out there. Again, because his website va.com was down, and we found a way to revive it or resurrect it. And that's what we bring to you all, and that's why we're called the Ministry of the Real Truth, because we bring that to you, which is we're bringing to you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but that truth, i.e. these original ancient Tav Asherah Old Testament manuscripts translated into the nearest English equivalent, and also the Galilean-Aramaic New Testament manuscripts translated again into the nearest English equivalent by that native-born Aramaic-speaking translator Victor N. Alexander, which originally was the New Testament manuscripts, the Galilean-Aramaic, were hidden from the Emperor Constantine for over 2,000 years and they remained intact. They weren't messed with, changed it or translated into any other foreign language because they didn't need to. It was exclusively for their church or their mass, the people in their mass who spoke the same language. They no longer speak those original ancient languages because they're dead, but somehow maybe they read it through their liturgy using a modern derivative like Syriac or modern Galilean-Aramaic. So that's it in a nutshell. We go out there. We haven't done videos yet on us actually out there because we haven't got that equipment. Every time we seem to get a phone and go out there, somebody steals it, or a person who gave it to us wants it back. Yeah, and then they give it to somebody for free, etc., because they're not in the right state of mind at that time. So we'll have to try and make some money somehow, and grab some cameras and get out there on the street and show everybody, present everybody the real scriptures, the original ancient Tav Asheret, the Shana Atik Sapraya, and the Galilean-Aramaic. We've got to put it out there. Okay, so if you like this particular video, then give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and then give us a like. Add your comments below the video, and we'll get back to you on those, and then go share it with all those you know, your family, friends, and others, because these are the real scriptures. They're not phony baloney and got bits and pieces added to them and all these bizarre claims. We bring you exactly what it says, translated into the nearest English equivalent, because some words in the original ancient very old Aramaic, Tav Asheri, etc., or Asheret, can't, they don't have an English equivalent, like Milta. So in that case, the translator Victor Alexander had to run around and find a word that was closest to it in the nearest English, and it happened to be manifestation. Okay, so Christ was the manifestation of God. He was something that wasn't revealed, and then he was suddenly revealed. He is God in the flesh, because God was never actually seen. That's why Christ said, nobody has seen the Father but he who came from his midst, because he dwelt in his midst, right? Okay. So he was that manifestation, God in the flesh, right? He had the face of God, so he dwelt amongst men, fellow Israelites, etc. And that's why he asked Peter, who do you say I am? Or who do the people say I am? Oh, they say you're the Christ. Who do you say I am? Oh, mate, you're the Son of God. Okay? And then Thomas declares it. When he saw him, he goes, my Lord, my God. He didn't say, my Lord, my Jesus the Christ. Okay? Or my Messiah in the original ancient, very old Galilean-Aramaic. So again, if you like this video, give us a like. Or subscribe to our channel, give us a like. Add your comments below, we'll get back to you on those. And then go share this video and our other videos with all your family, friends, and others. Here's a quote by a very famous preacher, theologian probably, Charles H. Spurgeon. And he stated in his day, a time will come when instead of shepherds feeding the sheep, the church will have clowns entertaining the goats. Okay? Entertaining those who aren't of God, or those who pretend to be, and so forth. We have come across many of these circus acts that are entertaining everybody else out there. Okay? Because they have some sort of hidden motive or agenda. Maybe fleece them of their money and control them, indoctrinate them, brainwash them, and so forth.